Hey, welcome back to Hard Truths. Your host here, Danny, the podcast where we cut through the noise and talk about the stuff that actually matters. Today, we're diving into something deceptively simple, but insanely powerful. The way you talk about yourself. Specifically, the two words that shape your entire life. I am. Now, that might not sound like a big deal at first, but trust me, these words are wiring your brain, programming your decisions, and shaping your future in ways you might not even realize. Think about it. Have you ever said, "I'm terrible at saving money. I'm not good with people," or "I'm just unlucky"? We say these things like they're facts. But they're not. They're stories. Stories we tell ourselves so often that we start living them out. So today, we're going to break some things down. The neuroscience behind I am statements and why your brain literally works to prove them right. Why most affirmations fail and how to make them actually work. And how negative self-talk locks you into a cycle of failure and how to escape it. Lastly, a step-by-step strategy to completely rewire your identity. And because I don't just throw theories at you, I'll also share a personal story of how I had to break my own toxic I am loop. So, if you ever felt stuck, like you're living the same patterns over and over again, this episode is going to help you break free. Let's get into it. Alright, let's get into some brain science, because once you understand this, you'll never talk about yourself the same way again. See, inside your head, you got something called the reticular activating system, or RAS for short. Think of it as your brain's filter. It decides what information gets through and what gets ignored. Have you ever noticed that when you buy a new car, you suddenly see that exact model everywhere? It's not that more people suddenly bought that car overnight. Your RAS just started filtering for it. Now, here's where things get scary. When you say, "I am bad with money," your RAS filters reality to support that belief. You remember the times you overspent. You focus on your financial mistakes. And here's a kicker. You completely ignore the moments you actually manage money well. This isn't just a theory. Scientists at Stanford did a study where they found that when people repeated negative self-beliefs, their brains show activity in the fear and threat response areas, as if their own thoughts were physically attacking them. Your brain will literally protect an identity you've repeated often enough, even if it's damaging you. Let me tell you a story. For years, I told myself, I'm not a leader. I thought leadership was just something some people were born with, and I wasn't one of them. And guess what happened? I avoided leadership roles. I didn't speak up when I had good ideas. I let others take charge, even when I knew I had value to offer. Then, one day, someone straight up called me out and said, "Who told you that you're not a leader?" And it hit me. No one told me that. I had told myself that. That moment, it changed everything. I stopped saying I'm not a leader and started saying I am learning to be a leader. And when I changed the words, I changed the actions. This is why your words matter more than you think. Your brain is listening, and whatever you tell it, it works overtime to make that your reality. Now let's talk about affirmations and why most of them don't work. You probably heard the advice, Just say, I'm successful every day and it will manifest. Yeah, no, that's not how it works. A study from University of Waterloo found that if people with low self-esteem repeated a statement they did not believe in, it actually made them feel worse. Why? Because your brain rejects things that contradict reality. If you're struggling financially and you say, I'm rich, your brain immediately calls BS. So, what's the fix? Use progress-based statements. So instead of, I am confident, say, I am becoming more confident every day. Another example, instead of saying, I'm a millionaire, say, I'm learning how to manage my money wisely. Your brain accepts progress easier than perfection. And once you say it enough and start backing it up with action, it becomes real. All right, here's where things get really dangerous. When you say I'm anxious or I'm unlucky, you're not just describing yourself. You're defending that identity. Ever notice how people will fight for their limitations? I'm just bad at relationships. I'm just how I am. I've always been like this. You want to know the truth? They're not defending reality. They're defending the story that they've told themselves over and over again. But here's the thing. You're not your past. You're not your mistakes. And you are not your old stories. You are who you decide to become next. All right. So how do you fix this? Here's the process. First, identify your negative I am statements. What are the labels you've been giving yourself that hold you back? Challenge them. Really challenge them. Sit down. Ask yourself, is this 100% true? Have you always been this way? Or is it just something you've repeated so many times that it feels true? Then, rewrite in a way your brain can believe. So instead of I'm bad at finances, say I'm learning how to manage money wisely. Instead of I'm just unlucky, say I'm learning how to create opportunities. Lastly, prove it with action. Identity isn't built with words alone. It's built with consistent actions. Start small, build credibility with yourself. Listen, if you take one thing from this episode, let it be this. Your words are programming your future. Every time you say, I am, you are setting a direction for your life. So stop reinforcing an identity that keeps you small. Start speaking about yourself in a way that moves you forward. Because your brain is always listening. And if you tell it a new story, it will believe you. That's it for today's episode of Hard Truths. If this hit home for you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And let me know, what's one I am statement that you're rewriting? Hit me up on Twitter and let's talk. Until next time, watch your words because they're shaping your future.